This is breaking news. If you're in the real estate industry, Zillow just purchased Follow Up Boss for $500 million. Zillow is about to eat your lunch. And in this video, I'm gonna go over why and how you can protect your business and stay relevant in the real estate industry. We've got two things to figure out and talk about. Number one is Follow Up Boss just being acquired by Zillow. Super important. That just happened yesterday. The other thing that we want to talk about, which actually happened the day before, is the real estate industry just got sued and lost a $1.8 billion lawsuit because we've been colluding with our commissions. And that's a big deal too, because commissions are on the downflow, why these tech companies are coming to eat our lunch and to take our data. So we're going to talk about those two things in this video, and then I'm going to give you a strategy to avoid all that craziness and stay relevant. What Zillow has been doing is quietly buying up the entire technology stack for all real estate professionals. They first started with Loop, which is a transaction management thing, and it happened 7-8 years ago, and they bought the back-end data for half of all real estate transactions. Loop controls half of the transactions inside of our real estate space, and Zillow wanted that data. They wanted to know how a transaction works, what documents are required, and now they have Loop and they have all the data. The next purchase was a marketing company, how to create leads inside of the real estate industry and how real estate professionals actually use those leads to close deals. So they started buying lead companies. Number three, they started a mortgage company. One of the most important and vital parts of a real estate transaction is the mortgage. And right now, they're actually offering lower interest rates than what's out there on the market. And a really good value prop that they have as a mortgage company is do a mortgage with us now, and when rates drop, you can refi for free, which is crazy town. Their most recent acquisitions of Showing Time gives them all the data about when the consumer wants to see properties and how they actually do it and where, and it connects not only their website, which has consumer eyeballs, but also the professionals who are showing the properties that are listing. So again, they're pulling all this data in. Their last acquisition just closed yesterday. It's Follow Up Boss, and they paid a whopping $400 million up front with another $100 million in earnouts over the next year. Now, here's what's interesting. Inside of the Follow Up Boss community, which I'm a member of and part of, you saw over 400 real estate professionals saying negative comments about Zillow owning this. And it's because we all know that Zillow is coming to eat our lunch, meaning they've positioned themselves in the center of the consumer's eyes, meaning everybody knows what their home is worth because they got a Zestimate. And then they've slowly started buying up the entire technology stack around our industry. And what does that mean? They are actually now running teams, and they are the #1 competitor to all real estate brokerages and real estate agents. They are owning the entire universe of the real estate world. There's a couple of advantages that they had. I want to talk about this Follow Up Boss acquisition. Number one, they have all the data of when the consumers are going to buy and sell. That's a really important part in a competitive landscape, because if you know what your customers are going to do before they even know what they're going to do, that's a big deal. Next, they have industry experience, meaning Zillow has been in this game for 20 plus years, creating leads, generating business for real estate agents. And because they have that know-how, they can actually probably outcompete most regional large brokerages. That's what's wild, is because they have this industry data, they actually have the know-how to operate inside of our industry. And by the way, they keep hiring industry insiders into their firm, so they absolutely have the industry experience to compete at a very high level. The next thing that they have that you don't as a real estate professional is they have a track record with Wall Street. And why does this matter? Because they have availability of very cheap money, meaning they can go out to Wall Street, raise a bunch of capital, and acquire any technology out there that can outcompete you. Plus, they can, through mergers and acquisitions, basically own the entire universe of technology and also the universe of the consumer, meaning they can own everything the consumer cares about and everything the real estate professional cares about. Why? Because they can get cheap money, and they can do that with Wall Street. So really important part, or really important fact. We're gonna go now to the lawsuit. $1.8 billion lawsuit. According to the suit, the real estate industry has colluded to keep commissions high. What does that mean? Typically, a buyer and a seller splits commissions with the buyer's agents and the seller's agents. Then the brokerage gets a fee. Now, what's not in there is these tech companies, companies like Zillow, who have slowly over time added more and more services to the businesses that they serve. So you can now buy a lead from them. They'll warm up the lead. They'll pre-qualify the lead. They'll tell you when the lead wants to go see the property. And so guess what? You agent no longer has to think, no longer has to do anything other than show up and shake a hand. And so Zillow is basically going to be taking the largest part of the real estate commission inside of the money part of a real estate transaction. Zillow basically is going to eliminate the need for any human thinking or real estate licensed agent. And this is a big deal in our world. So that being said, what should you do if you're a real estate professional? What are the things that you need to do in order to protect yourself against not only this lawsuit that's $1.8 billion, but also against Zillow, who owns the technology stack and owns the consumer eyeballs? And by the way, has cheap money so they can lend that money for, below normal mortgage rates. I mean, imagine that. Zillow is competing for your job and you're paying Zillow for leads. So they're using your revenue to compete for your revenue, which is a wild, ludicrous idea. But that's what they're doing. The reality is most products and services are being bifurcated, meaning there are two buying pools. There's the low cost buying pool and there's the differentiated services or product buying pool. So think high end versus low cost. Now, a great example is Walmart versus Nordstrom's, right? Both sell clothes, both at a very different price. Now, here's the thing about real estate. Those two things are always going to be the case, meaning the low cost is going to go to the tech companies. The low cost is going to go to the major brokerages, these new brokerages that don't have brick and mortars, that are all online. That's low cost, meaning the average track homes, the under 500,000, the average home where somebody is purchasing the home is probably going to go in this low cost model. But people still want, when they buy a car, they still want to get in the car and drive it. They still, when they buy pants, they still want to try those pants on and make sure they fit perfectly. And when people want to buy a home or make an investment, they want to tour that property with a local expert, somebody who knows the market, understands homes, and done this hundreds, if not thousands of times. So that's the place that you can still compete and be relevant, which is a super big deal in a differentiated market. So the very first thing in order to survive in these changing times is become the local expert, meaning you know the data, you know the neighborhood, and you become irreplaceable and a source for real estate information in your area. Everybody wants and needs a local expert. The next thing that you need to do is build a brand, meaning you need to sponsor the Little League, you need to be at the basketball games, you need to actually be known in the area that you operate. I'll give you an example. A brand is not Daniel Ramsey Real Estate Company. That is not the way to do it. You actually need to build a brand. A good friend of mine just opened Guide Real Estate, which I think is a brilliant brand. Guide, because she wants to guide people through the process of buying an investment or buying a home. What a great brand to actually own. I'm Guide Real Estate. This makes a lot of sense in my world. So that you want to do mass media, meaning you want to be out there on the radio, on TV, doing the things that makes your brand recognizable to the people who live in your community. It's a really big deal because no matter how big Zillow is or Follow Up Boss or any of these other things, they can never be the local brand. They can never be the brand of choice. They can never be the guide in someone's real estate journey. So it's a big deal. That's number two, build a brand. The last thing is you have to build a team. All data is going to the individual real estate agent. Is going to go the way of the travel agent. It's going to go the way of Blockbuster. they're just not going to exist in the future. They're all going to get attached to somebody like Zillow and just be a 1099 employee. Think Uber, think a outsourced employee for the large tech companies that can close the gaps of the local experts. So most individual agents are gonna simply go the way of Blockbuster. So the way to survive and actually thrive in this time is to build a team and give a high level of standard of care to your customers. You're doing above and beyond and more than the average real estate agent. You're making their experience amazing. You're making sure they have all the information, they have all the list of vendors that are required, they have connections with the very best vendors and or services inside the real estate universe. So these are the things that you have to do in order to win in the real estate world, which is building a team and providing a high level of service and a high level of standard inside the brand that you're building. No major corporation that's publicly traded spends $500 million on a CRM if they're not intending to use that data to compete directly against you. So if you want to win in today's market, number one, you have to build a brand and you have to not be complacent. Even though the travel agent has gone the way of the dodo bird, there are still people out there that are travel agents that are competing. They're just simply competing at a differentiated market, meaning they're providing services and products that other people cannot get the hands on. The tech companies can't compete with that individual person because they're giving a high standard and a high level of service to their end users. So my advice is get out there and compete.